The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, the Yugoslavian civil war, now going on for years, was near ending until NATO chose to enter on the side of the KLA seeking independence. Aggressively entering the fray by invading a foreign nation in direct opposition to its charter, NATO has expanded the war and multiplied the casualties. The impasse now reached, although predictable, prompts only more NATO bombing and killing of innocent civilians on both sides. It's difficult to see how any good can come from this continuous march of folly, but I'm going to try. Number one, the UN has suffered a justified setback in its effort to be the world's governing body of the New World Order, and that's good. By NATO refusing to seek a UN resolution of support for its war effort, it makes the UN look irrelevant. Now NATO is using the UN to seek a peace settlement by including the Russians, who agreed to play the game as long as additional American tax dollars flow to them through the IMF. The UN looks weak, irrelevant, ignored, and used. Truth is winning out. Number two, NATO is on the verge of self-destructing. And since the purpose of NATO to defend against a ruthless Soviet system no longer exists, that's good. NATO, in choosing to break its own rules, looks totally ineffective and has lost credibility. The U.S. can get out of NATO, come home, save some money, and let Europe tend to its own affairs, and we can then contribute to peace, not war. Number three, Tony Blair's true character has now become known to the world. He has not only annoyed many Americans, but many Germans, French, Italians, and Greeks as well. By Blair demanding more American bombs and money and the introduction of ground troops, many have become skeptical of his judgment. It is much easier now to challenge his influence over Bill Clinton and NATO, and that's not only good, but necessary. Number four, more Americans every day are discovering that military spending is not equivalent to defense spending. This is a good start. It's clearly evident that when useless, immoral wars are pursued, money is wasted, weapons are consumed, and national security is endangered, opposite to everything that is supposed to be achieved through defense spending. A foolish policy of foreign interventionism, no matter how much money is spent on the military, can never substitute for a sensible pro-American policy of friendship and trade with all those countries willing to engage. Number five, the ill-gotten war has shown once again that air power alone, and especially when pursued without a declaration of war and a determination to win, serves no useful purpose. Although most military experts have stated this for years, it is now readily apparent to anyone willing to study the issue. Many more Americans now agree that war not fought for the defense of one's country and for the preservation of liberty is immoral and rarely brings about victory. If we remember that in the future, that would be good. Number six, NATO's war against Yugoslavia has made it clearly apparent that world leaders place relative value on human life. This is valuable information that should be used to help restore U.S. national sovereignty. According to NATO's policy, the lives of the Kosovars are of greater value than the Serbs, Rwandans, Kurds, Tibetans, or east-timorans. Likewise, oil and European markets command more bloodshed in support of powerful financial interests than the suffering of millions in Asia and Africa. This knowledge of NATO's hypocrisy should someday lead to a fair and more peaceful world. Number seven, the issue of whether or not a president can initiate and wage an unconstitutional war without declaration and in violation of the War Powers Resolution has prompted a positive and beneficial debate in the Congress and throughout the nation. This is a necessary first step to get Congress to regain its prerogatives over the issue of war. Number eight, interventionism in the affairs of other nations when our national security is not threatened serves no benefit and causes great harm. Our involvement with NATO in Yugoslavia has once again forcefully shown this. Although our founders knew this and advised against it, and American presidents for over 100 years acted accordingly, this rediscovery of a vital truth can serve us well in future years. Number nine, NATO's arrogance has once again restated another truth worth remembering. Might does not make right. Number 10, the 19 nations military action against a tiny state shows that alliances to promote aggression don't work. The moral high ground is not achieved because, despite the pronouncements of concerns for the suffering of the innocent, when survival is not at stake and when the defense against an aggressor is not an issue, war by committee is doomed to fail. This is a lesson that needs restating. Number 11, NATO's blundering policy, ironically, will leave a legacy that will allow rebuilding after the New World Order disintegrates.